It's been said that natural disasters like tsunamis, earthquakes, cyclones and floods bring out the best and worst in human nature. And that's certainly been the case in Toowoomba. The regional city was rocked by the death toll in flash flooding and inspired by a selfless act of courage by one brother for another. Yet in time, they'd be appalled to learn that not only had the surviving youngster been singled out for a beating by other kids, but that Toowoomba is one of the worst centres in the country for cyberbullying. A string of high-profile visitors helped morale as Toowoomba grappled with that day in January. Stories of sorrow and of heroes, retold and heard right through to the upper echelons of power.
The courage it takes for a young boy, 13-year-old Jordan Rice, to say to his rescuers, "Take my brother first." And before that brave rescuer could return, Jordan and Mum Donna were taken by the flood. But the legend of Jordan's amazing courage will go on. A hero in the purest sense of the word.
But with all this goodwill, a nasty undercurrent was at work, ready to pounce literally and hit Toowoomba while it was already down. Headlines then revealing lowlifes targeted and bashed 10-year-old Blake Rice, and to rub salt into the wounds, the perpetrators gloated about it on Facebook.
It's unfortunate, this behaviour, and I condemn it. Don't condone it at all. And I believe these people will be caught, because the police have means to track social network sites, they have information, and they are tracking down the people responsible for the bullying.
And it's not the first time the Garden City has had to deal with undesirables on the internet, with a case of cyberbullying hitting the local headlines last year. The Police Internet Safety Task Force, known as Argos, and prominent child psychologists say teenagers in regional towns are particularly fast in their uptake of online tribute pages. So what are these social networking sites and how do they work? Police say they start off looking innocent enough, answer a few questions about yourself. You can even keep it anonymous, but things can soon get out of hand.
With all these social networking sites, and predominantly with tribute pages, they are set up with good intentions in the beginning. Inevitably, somebody gets on and has an antisocial blog or puts something antisocial on, or an image on which is inappropriate, and then it seems to self-generate from that very quickly within the social networking site. So within a short period of time, within a few hours, we see people adding to that anti-social behaviour, and it becomes out of control very quickly.
But the story doesn't end there. Another tribute site, Great Wall, was found to be just as menacing to kids in Toowoomba. The Australian Federal Police, in conjunction with the FBI, kept a close eye on the Great Wall site and were eventually able to get the site shut down, temporarily at least. What began in the back streets in the town of Ohio in the US Midwest was traced to a local operative in Toowoomba.
The administrator itself closed it down for a short period of time, I'm led to believe. Police did a number of education programs within schools to get the children aware of the consequences of using those social networking sites, the antisocial behaviour attached with the use of some of those sites. And that was very fruitful with educating the children and stopping that type of behaviour.
The internet, of course, is a valuable tool helping regional and rural communities connect and gain access to information and resources, and there's no denying it's here to stay. Over the years, Landline has dealt with the whole range of farm safety protocols. It's now clear a best practice toolkit also needs to focus on cyber safety.
When you're online and you're chatting as a child, you think you may be chatting to another child or a peer or somebody else who assumes an identity of someone else you know. But in fact, you may be chatting with a perpetrator, an offender who is trying to access children or access images of children.
And the internet safety message is heading further west. A few years ago, Senior Constable Mick Maguire left the Gold Coast glitter strip for the bushbeat here in Charleville in southwestern Queensland. He's passionate about protecting young country kids from the perils of cyberspace.
It is a big issue for our young country kids out here, and it's a message that they need to know just as much as the city kids.
And they're using every means possible to get the cyber safety message out, including taking it to the air. That is, School of the Air.
We've had a great response from the kids here. As you're well aware, country kids have their own unique sense of what's right and what's wrong, and we get some very interesting questions along the way. Using the School of Distance Education has been fantastic. We've managed to reach kids we would normally, not drive and give a presentation to.
So Mick, we're off to a different type of classroom. What can we expect in here?
Well, we were talking to a computer screen and the students on the other side, so it's actually quite amazing.
So how does it work?
Well, we put the CD-ROM into the computer drive, and all the students then come in on the conference, and then they can ask questions over the air, and we try and answer them the best as we possibly can.
So are the parents there as well? What sort of involvement do they have?
Yeah, the parents have been very, very interested in the Surf Safely message and cyberbullying message that we're putting out there, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from the parents.
Good afternoon, Ben. How are you today?
Thank you.
Excellent. Look, Ben, today we're lucky enough to have Senior Constable Mick Maguire talk to you today about cyberbullying and the internet. So away you go, Mick.
We don't really want to stop you from using the internet and chat rooms and blogs. We just want to make sure that you use them safely. We know here at the School of Distance Ed that the use of computer is extremely important for you guys because it's your main sort of source of any education. So we just want to give you some hints and tips and some advice to stay safe and have some fun on the internet.
I was wondering if cyberbullying can occur on Facebook.
Yeah, it certainly can, Ben, and that's what we're here to try and stamp out today. Since we brought the program to the kids, it's been great. They've been coming forward a lot more and just discussing what they believe may or may not be cyberbullying. They run it past us and we give them advice. Main message we're giving them is to not respond to any of the rubbish that may be sent across the email or across their phone, and to report it to an adult or a responsible person.
Okay, Lindsay, you're up.
Today I'm going to talk about Patty. Patty's best characteristics, she's stupid. Stupid and ugly. Everything she does is ugly. Watch her eat. Watch her stuff her face. Look at her. Greasy hair, dirty fingernails. It makes me want to vomit. Her dad doesn't work, they have no money. That's why she wears that nasty pink sweater. Everyone hates her, even the teachers, and they're supposed to like everyone. Get a life, Patty. Thank you.
Talking about rates of 40 to 50.
Renowned child psychologist Dr. Michael Cargregg has become a champion of protecting kids against bullying, both online and in person. And he's seen firsthand the changes in recent years in Australia.
About 60 to 90% of the socialising that young people do in 2010 is digital, either through the internet or through mobile phone. And wherever you get kids socialising, you're going to get bullying. So it was, I guess, a logical progression.
And what about the effects and consequences of cyberbullying?
This has been well researched, and we know there's short, medium and long-term effects. The short-term are sort of shock, horror, depression, anxiety. Long-term, we've seen kids engage in deliberate self-harm, and in some very rare instances, they've even killed themselves.
The National Children's Counselling Service Kids Helpline says the bush is disproportionately represented in calls for help regarding cyber safety and cyberbullying.
So in 2009, 440,000 young Australians tried to make contact with Kids Helpline. Our counsellors all responded to 270,000 of those, and 120,000 were from kids who live in regional, rural or remote Australia. That's interesting because there's only 33% of kids that live in those areas, but 44% of the contacts coming to us are from the areas.
Hello, Kids Helpline.
Hello, Kids Helpline.
How are you?
How you going?
In a sign of the times, Kids Helpline set up a separate cyberbullying department.
Since 2008, we've decided we'll have to track cyberbullying because it's one of the areas that's growing. And there's lots out there in the community, people hear about it, they don't really understand, I don't think, what's happening for young kids. And so we've watched those numbers come through in a growing area. For example, on our website, we put a hot topic up about cyberbullying, and in the last 6 months, there's been 4,500 hits to that site. So it could have been young kids or teenagers, or indeed it could have been adults trying to access some information about cyberbullying, but that's a lot of people coming in and downloading information.
So what's the difference between cyberbullying and the more traditional schoolyard variety?
Cyberbullying doesn't go away. So if someone's coming at you on your phone, or they're coming through a chat site or social networking, they can come to kids 24 hours a day. So when they're at school, they might access something. When they're at home, they might. And you imagine living with stories coming to you, people having a go at you 24 hours a day, and you having the opportunity to look at that. It's very hard to turn off.
Bullying can take on different forms. A moment of recklessness with a mobile phone can cause lasting heartache and a police record.
It's very easy to take an inappropriate photo in good fun and thinking that it's not a criminal offence, but it's very easy to step over the line once you start taking those sort of photos, communicating or distributing them. The other issue is once they are distributed on the internet, there's no way of removing them, so they're going to be there forever and a day. All those offences, the taking of the photos, the transmission, the possession, the receiving of them, are all crimes. So the offence ranges from 7 years to 14 years under the state law as well as the Commonwealth.
One of the most effective ways for parents to tackle possible cyber abuse is for them to become more actively involved in how their children use the internet.
We encourage parents, it should be a conversation that's regularly had. It should be also not just the conversations had, but if you're going to give your child a webcam, you need to be very mindful of what they're using that webcam for. You need to be very mindful of the environment which the computer sits. If a computer sits in a child's room and you have little contact with that child, you don't know really what's going on.
You don't let children have access to this technology in their bedroom. Secondly, you must have an online family contract where you clearly specify what is and what is unacceptable behaviour. Thirdly, you should use a filter like K9 Web Protection. And fourthly, monitor and supervise what your kids are doing online. Do the shoulder surfing.
So if the kids are doing social networking, ask your kids to show us what you're doing. Talk to the kids about stranger danger. Remember that old idea we used to have? We used to talk about stranger danger is very, very important. We just forget to tell kids nowadays that that can happen online. And so online we can have somebody come up who they don't have a clue in the world, they don't get to see the person, and yet they'll release all this private information about themselves.
Whether or not we know if we've stopped anything, we're not, the kids are the ones that know that. They're the ones that delete the pictures or don't respond to any inappropriate questions. Just making them aware is our main aim. We're not going to tolerate cyberbullying out west. We're not going to tolerate cyberbullying at all. It's just something we want to stamp out.